but nobody's ever sought it before. Nobody's ever asked for it before. It's never been used before. Why should we be different?
Well, let's speak now to Dr. Sultan Barakat, Professor at the College of Public Policy at Hamad bin Khalifa University. He's in Doha. Welcome to you. Thanks for being with us. What's your assessment of where this conflict is at now, with the Strait of Hormuz still blockaded and no talks due or certainly imminent that we know of?
Well, the talks, as in formal talks, may have stalled, but there's a lot of informal discussion ongoing. And as you saw over the last few days, the Iranian foreign minister has been touring the region. And I think the Iranians have actually put an alternative proposal to the United States, which Trump was referring to in your clip earlier. I think the issue, maybe if you allow me to go back to the issue of the 60 days, a lot depends on how you define hostilities. That if the blockade that was imposed immediately after the ceasefire by the Americans against the Iranians is part of a hostile environment created by the United States, or if it's not. And I suspect also that Trump, but when he makes reference to no one has ever asked for this, he probably is targeting Obama and his 2011 war against Libya. But again, there he misses a very important point that Obama had the international support for his action and was backed up by the United Nations Security Council Resolution number 1973, which allowed the United States to enter this war and has been used by Obama as the cover, if you like, for not needing to go back to the Congress again to extend it until at the time it ran from March to November 2011.
Is your assessment that both countries do want to find an off-ramp, that neither want to renew hostilities, or do you think that is very much on the table for both countries?
No, I think both want to find an off-ramp, and this is why they extended the ceasefire in the first instant last week. But they want to do it in a way that saves face for both countries. The American president has promised a sharp and concise strike against Iran, which will make it impossible for them to produce a nuclear bomb. And he needs to show his people that he's been able to do this, except despite the fact that it's now running into weeks. And the Iranians need to show that they have survived this attack. And they must, I think, from their perspective, remain able to enrich uranium to a certain degree. And this is where the discussion is now at the moment. I mean, there are certain use of the enrichment, be it medical or energy related, that broadly people agree that Iran has a sovereign right to, and they should be allowed to do this. The zero sum that was presented by the United States and increasingly Trump talking about zero enrichment is practically impossible. I think the Iranians will not be able to accept that. And the smart way around it is to really allow them a degree of enrichment that serves their purposes internally, peaceful use, but even potentially help them to export that kind of science and facilities to other countries that are seeking energy programs or medical programs where Iran can generate income and also protect its pride as a nation of 90 million people plus.
You're in Doha in Qatar. Obviously, Iran has targeted your country. It's also very much targeted the UAE and the region as a whole. What impact has it had on relations, on what the region now wants from Iran? Obviously, different countries, different views. But what would you say has been the broader geopolitical impact as far as relations from that region with Iran and with the US?
I think with Iran, there's been a major issue of trust at the moment, or lack of trust developed, particularly amongst between Iran and the 2 or 3 countries where they used to have reasonably good relations. Countries like Qatar, Oman, and to some extent Kuwait. But also they suffered quite a lot in terms of direct impact and damage to their infrastructure. The repair bills that are talked about run into tens of billions. Some refer to almost 40, $50 billion required to just put right what damage has been caused to the energy infrastructure and to the oil exporting. And particularly, I think in Qatar here, for the LNGs, it suffered a great deal because Qatar was almost entirely dependent on the Strait of Hormuz to export its LNG. But on the other side, with the United States, I think also equally there's been a crack in trust because they were not consulted about this war when it was launched. It's very clear in their minds that this was launched to serve the Israeli interest, and that Mr. Trump has, wittingly or not, been followed Netanyahu's recommendation without consulting so-called key security partners in the region. And they ended up having to pick up the pieces and suffer the economic and this trust deficit. And I must say, I mean, economically, it probably will take the region into a year or so to try and recap its position if the war were to stop today.
Dr. Sultan Barakat, really interesting to get your thoughts. Thanks very much for joining us from Doha.
Thank you.